What's up? Just sitting here. This video is an open forum. YouTube likes you to tell you in the 30 seconds what the video is going to be about, blah, 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 whatever. Man. I figured, hopefully notifications go out. There they are. There it is. Alright. Firefighter Bob, what's up, man? What's up? Sorry, I'm viewing my own video because I'm a nerd. Right? Let's see. Let's do all chat. Live chat. All messages instead of just top messages. Morning, I got the sun in my face, as you can see. It is a beautiful morning. It's nice and still, and it's hot, and it's humid, and I got to mow the lawn today. So, and Bob was the first, and the first like too. Well, good. If that's an accomplishment you were striving for, congratulations. And the grass is pretty stupidly tall, so we're going to have to bust out the rider mower for this one. So I'm avoiding that because the grass is still wet with the dew. So as soon as the sun comes out and dries it out, then we'll get to mowing. And then I'm hitting Guitar Center later today. I'm gonna look at a couple of things, and I need to get an extra guitar cord, and I might look at getting another noise gate pedal because my first noise gate pedal was stolen. I like having the noise gate on the big amp, you know, whenever I'm fighting. We need more red chicken. Well, I've uploaded two, not one, but two YouTube shorts of big red chicken. And I need to transfer the red chicken videos off the Snorelord Viking channel and put them on his channel. So that's one of them computer dealy bobs that I need to do. So we're on day 28 now of the carnivore journey. Now, if you guys noticed, I started off, and I might have already talked about this, so forgive me for being repetitive, but I started off calling it a challenge, and it's actually a journey, because it has not been a challenge. There's been no temptation. There's been, well, I won't say there hasn't been temptation per se. I mean, has there been cravings and urges? Yeah. I mean, we're human. We're going to have those. But for the most part, it's been pretty good. You know, I posted on Facebook that I was doing this, and one person, she said, I would tell you good luck, but you don't need luck. I'll just tell you to enjoy, because apparently she's been carnivore as well. So, but it's been pretty good. I haven't prepared well for dinner today, or lunch, or whatever meal I'm going to have. I've got some hamburgers thawed out, and that's it. And I'm almost out of eggs, so I'll be going shopping later, probably. And I need to look up a better way to cook brisket that doesn't require the oven and doesn't require the crock pot. So, Diet Quest with Snorelord. I don't know about that. Quest, I guess it'd be a quest. And the reward at the end is, who knows. So, let's get in the comments here. Firefighter Bob is first. Pigtail says, yo, good morning from Winnemucca, Nevada. Jose, what's up? Don Shonger, good morning. Sterling says we need more red chicken. Guitar Center will take your wallet. I, you know, guitar stores and I have a weird relationship. Number one, it's kind of like going to a car dealership. I have zero patience. And I think it stems from anger that none of the music stores ever wanted to hire me when I was younger. They would rather hire these college-age students that don't know anything about music or gear versus a guy like me that was, you know, music scene veteran, you know, whatever. And then one of the music stores, not Guitar Center, but there's another music store here in town that my wife, when she went to go buy me my distortion pedal, you know, she bought me a Scott Ian distortion pedal, which is really cool, by the way. And they treated her like she was some ditzy broad, like, and I wanted to go in, you know, she told me about it later after the gift was given, and I wanted to go in there. It's like, dude, she's probably played more gigs and more recordings than you ever have. So, you know, don't sit there and belittle her, you know, like, she knew what she wanted, you know, so, I don't get along with salesmen like, hey, what's up? You like this? You know, I'm not that guy. And when I go into a guitar store, I'm looking for something specific. So I'm not bewildered with all the lights and sounds and everything. I will say this: the local Guitar Center. So about a year or so ago, I bought a drum set off of our drummer, actually, you know, and I needed a bunch of hardware. I needed some pedals. You know, all he sold me was the bass drum, 2 toms, and the snare, and a couple of cymbal stands. So I went to Guitar Center and bought all the hardware I needed and the pedals. And the guy that was the sales guy there, he was awesome. He was on it. He bent over backwards. He did everything I needed him to do, and that was great. He even helped me load it into the pickup. So when I find a good salesperson like that, I'll stick with that salesperson. But I'm not going, you know, and look, I would hate to be a sales guy at a Guitar Center because you got a bunch of people coming in to look at the $4,000, $5,000 Gibsons that just want to play Smoke on the Water and never be serious about actually buying the thing. So I imagine you got to filter your way through that. And Guitar Center has a remedy for that. The expensive guitars are way up there, like they need 3 ladders to get to it, whereas the $200 guitar is within your reach. But and I'm not a gearhead, so I can't tell you the latest greatest. Like if I needed to buy a new amp right now, I'd be like, let me check the Facebook group. So yeah, Guitar Center is not as tempting as one thinks with me, because number one, I have a lot of guitars, and number two, there's really nothing I'm needing per se, like expensive wise. And even if there was something I wanted, I probably wouldn't use it as much, or I don't have the room for it. So, I mean, the best thing I've got lately is Sterling. You know, he sent it to me, the pedal. That's been great. Good morning from Montana. Man, this is the perfect time of year for Montana, man. I am slightly envious of you. Not enough to get back in the truck and do it myself, but cheers to you, my friend. Shannon Thomas says, good morning, everyone. Just finished morning 5K steps. Then got rained out. Came back to the truck soaked, feeling fantastic. I will be putting my steps in later. I got to mow this lawn. And the riding mower can't reach everything, so. Congrats, Snorelord, on your successes. Well, thank you, Cheap Free Hauler. I wouldn't call them successes yet. I did gain some of that 120 pounds back, so we're working on getting that back off. And from the surface, it might seem like I've dieted and failed, but in reality, it's an ongoing experience. It's an ongoing lesson. It's an ongoing blessing, right? And yesterday, I went grocery shopping with my wife, and pretty much what it is she's going over the list, and she's, I'm just following. I'm more like protector slash helper slash companion. I'm more like a service animal than really doing the actual shopping. And so I'm reading labels, just curious, and I'm like, man, we're just so screwed. We're just so screwed looking at all the food in the grocery store, right? So Sterling says get a smoker. That's a good idea. Shannon says, I will be doing a pilot electrolyte hunt video today. We shall see if they have something that will work. I doubt it. But that'll be a nice video. Very nice, 60 degrees this morning. The KISS rule is keep it simple, Steve. That is true. And you know what? YouTube would not let me use the word KISS in the title. Isn't that weird? Like, I put this big title with the word KISS in the video talking about keeping it simple, and it wouldn't do it. It would not do it. It defaulted to a date. So I had to like type out my whole title again and keep KISS out. It was weird. Like, does the band KISS have that kind of weight in the Google world? I mean, are they really that? I mean, come to think, I don't really see a whole lot of KISS videos on YouTube. So, it was very strange. Gary Bates, go Deezer Raw. Okay. Sheep Free Hauler, congrats on taking the lead in the step challenge today. I'm after you. I always wanted to be a car salesman because I know everything about cars. It's hard to get good service at any large chain. That's true. I've noticed Guitar Center has had good service, but it's obvious the company is faltering. Yeah, I mean, here's a business tactic that I've noticed in the last 10 years. So I remember when Krispy Kreme came to Springfield, they opened up 3 places, and they put all the small independent donut places out of business. And then they went out of business. And then I did some reading after talking to another friend of mine. They said that they do that everywhere. Just like Camping World. Camping World comes in, puts all the small mom and pop RV places out of business, and then they eventually go out of business. Next thing you know, you don't have any choices, right? Well, Guitar Center kind of does the same thing. Between them and Musician's Friend, they've put a lot of independent small music stores out of business. So in Springfield, the only way you stay in business is if you have a school contract. In other words, you can specialize in school instruments, for, band and all that. And that's, or you got to keep your overhead low. And there was a music store named Hoover Music that was like the oldest music store in Springfield, and they went out of business not too long ago. And they had those school contracts. And what I found is, like, there's one music store here that has a lot of the school band stuff, and they do a lot of lessons, but they have the high end guitars. You're talking like $5,000 and $10,000 Paul Reed Smiths and Gibson Explorers and stuff like that. But there's really nothing at the beginner level. What Guitar Center is good at is, if you want, let's say someone or you or your kid wants to learn how to play guitar, well, you can buy a whole Fender guitar amp set up with, for $150. And it's got everything you need. It's got the guitar, it's got the amp, it's got a book, it's got the strap, it's got the cord, it's got a few picks. a good starter pack. And that's what they cater to. But I imagine the profit margins are getting slimmer and slimmer with the cost of everything, seeing that most not quality, but most affordable instruments are imported. So I imagine they got hammered pretty hard during the COVID shortages. And they've never fully recovered. You know, just like any other business that's struggling right now. Now, luckily, the Guitar Center here has only contributed to maybe 2 stores going out of business here. But one of the stores that's remained open is the store I won't go into because of how they treated my wife and how they treated an old friend of mine that sold me most of my early gear. So if Guitar Center ever goes out, there's only one store left in town that I'll go to, and yeah, it's going to kind of suck because I like trying things out before I buy them. And that's what's hurting music stores now is you go in, you try out this guitar, you try out this pedal, and then you go back home and you order it online. That seems to be the MO. I know several people have done that. I've never done that. I usually try to support local when I can, even Guitar Center, even though they're a chain. But I've never been that guy that did that. Now I did order, the one thing I did order was my head, my amp, my half stack, my PV Triple X head. I did order that from Musician's Friend because I could not find the amp that I wanted here, and I already knew what it sounded like. So, but yeah, they are on a thin margin right now. Yes, I need to mow too, says Gary. Thanks, Shannon. Got up early this morning and was able to watch the sunrise and get some steps in. Grocery stores are hell for the enlightened. They are. They really are. The band is heavily copyrighted. Yeah, talking about Kiss, yes. Yeah, KI55. Yeah, I see. But I had no idea. I had literally had no idea that was one of the bad words of YouTube titles. August is the hottest effing month in Florida. I agree with that. Them cicadas are rocking this morning there in your yard. Yes, they are loud here. We once went camping in June. Middle of nowhere. Couldn't sleep. It was too hot and it was too loud. You guys ever seen My Cousin Vinny, where they get out in the country to get away from all the noises? And it ends up being like one of the worst nights they've slept because it was so noisy. Do you have cicada wasps up there? They look terrifying, but they hunt and kill cicadas. No. Well, I mean, probably. I don't know. I've never heard of those. Guitar Center employees need some training in humility. That's true. Seeing you jam on my Reverend guitar keeps me motivated. Good deal, man. Let me tell you part of my journey, Sterling. So, when I first started playing guitar, the only person I watched live playing a guitar was my dad. That's it. I never, short of a Branson country show from a back distance, I never really sat there and watched, especially someone play metal. So in high school, a friend of mine said, "Hey, we need to go to Aaron's house." I said, "Who's Aaron?" He goes, "Oh, he's this cool dude. He can play Iron Maiden and this, that, and the other." I'm like, "Cool." And it was so mesmerizing to watch this dude. And and mind you, I couldn't even play a power chord at this time. And I was inspired. It was like, wow, I want to do that. Those sounds are great. It was one thing to hear it or watch a video, but to see it in person, as far as I am to this phone, it was great. But then as time went on, I had another friend of mine that was playing the thrash and death metal, and to see him do that was even more motivating. And that's actually what really kind of brought me over this threshold of trying to learn just basic cowboy chords and modes and scales and in theory to actually playing something that I enjoyed. And so seeing somebody live play on a guitar, especially if it's your own, is kind of inspiring. And so I'm glad I was able to do that for you, Sterling. The guitar felt good. I mean, it did. I do regret not picking up your bass. I would have liked to have seen how that, but I'm too paranoid to pick up an expensive bass like yours. So, whoops. Oh. Does Sterling book them loads that you look up? No, Sterling is not in the spot market, Marty. No. But every now and then I'll go into the guitar store and look around, see if they have any BC Riches. Because I'm a BC Rich fan. That's my favorite guitar. I have owned a couple of I've owned one Jackson, which I kind of regret getting rid of that guitar. I owned a Charvel, an old Charvel. What was the other guitar? My first guitar was a Yamaha. That's the one I got from my dad. Yamaha Electric. Which is interesting because Yamaha's mainly known for, I mean, besides the motorsports, keyboards, right? But I did own an Epiphone Les Paul Goth. I found it for a really good price at the swap meet. It was brand new, and I ended up selling it because we were pretty broke, and it was when I was driving a school bus, and I wasn't using it. It was a decent guitar, but that's the only guitar that I don't regret getting rid of. Everything else, well, no, there's a BC Rich Ironbird. It was a Lita Ford. Lita Ford signed it, but it wasn't like a signature model. It was some like radio giveaway guitar, and that thing sounded like mud. It would not stay in tune, and it had the sustain of a tick. So I ended up trading that guitar in. That's the only one I don't regret. That and the Epiphone's the only ones I don't regret getting rid of. Everything else I kind of regret. So, oh wait, I did have a BC Rich Warlock Bronze. That thing was a piece of crap too. It's a $50 guitar, and it's one that you give your kid that, if you think he's serious, and then you find out he's not, you're not out a whole lot of money. It's one of those guitars. Sterling says he is a troll. He uses me for market research. My old lanes are totally poop nowadays. That's true. Trying to not talk trucking this morning, but US 212 in Montana is beautiful. That's not trucking. That's just a statement of fact. My first guitar was a Les Paul knockoff, says Shannon, from the pawn shop. Loved it. Yeah, we've all had our share of Les Paul knockoffs. What I'm in search for is a good quality acoustic that will, for the love of God, stay in freaking tune. The Eastman that I got, I liked it at first. It sounds good, but it won't stay in tune, and I don't like the playability on it. So that's a guitar I regret getting, and I will be fixing to probably trade it in soon. I don't know. There's more important things to pay for right now. Have you thought about trading the acoustic? That's funny. It's funny you asked that. Is Cool Trucking, does he do flatbed? Cool Trucking. Cool Trucking is retired. So, and he was reefer his last couple of years. Actually, he wasn't even driving. It was his wife that was driving. So, I don't know what he did when he was driving. But yeah, I have thought about, now, the higher end Eastmans are pretty good, but in the acoustic shop that I got it, it's called the Acoustic Shop. They got a channel on YouTube. Those guys were great. They weren't pushy. They didn't talk down to me. I mean, I go in there with a death metal t-shirt. I'm looking at acoustics. I mean, how much of a sore thumb sticking out can you get? And they were very cordial towards me. I went in the store 3 or 4 times before I decided on the guitar that I got, which is why I'm kind of mad, because I should have chose better. You know, I heard the Carbon Fiber. Oh, they do, dude. I really, really, really want one of those lava guitars. I really, really want one of those, but $1,000 is a little bit too steep for me. I've only paid that price for a guitar twice in my life. So, but yes, it stayed in tune perfectly. Because they don't warp, they don't care about humidity, and the lava guitars have got that little, it's like the size of your cell phone on the side of the guitar. It's got like a digital, has effects, has a built-in amp. It has everything you need, but then it sounds good by itself without being turned on. So, but, you know, I don't know. I used to play Rock Band on PlayStation. That's the closest I've come to playing guitar. I am way out of practice. I'm having trouble getting inspired to write some of this new stuff that I want to write, and I think it's just a matter of just doing it. It's kind of like it's kind of like the grass, mowing the grass. You know, like at first you're like, ugh, such a big event that I got to deal with, and the more you dwell on it, the more overwhelming it could be. And of course, the longer you wait, the worse it gets. Obviously, it's going to be taller. But once you start, once you put the gas in the mower and now you're sweating and you're in the groove, then it becomes kind of a joy. And I think that music for me is the same way. It's like, once I got that spark, man, I'm off to the races. And I've recently watched a couple of podcasts that have kind of like, that's a good way to look at it, because the project I'm doing is going to be kind of secretive until I'm ready to let it out. So, well, the good adhesive tape that's gooey, those are in the paint aisle, which I was never in the paint aisle before. You need to go on a vision quest? What's a vision quest? You'll have to explain that to me, Sterling. You can call me after the video if you want. Like I said, I can't mow the lawn yet because the grass is too wet. So I'll have to wait till after 12 or 1. So, and I don't think Guitar Center opens for a minute. Let me see. Let me look here. I don't think they open till noon. Oh, they open at 10 a.m. today. Huh. Maybe I'll go down after this video. What's for breakfast today? Oh. This. This is my breakfast. I didn't finish my MyFitnessPal journal yesterday, Shannon. Which they took the ability for you to see other people's feeds. Like, you used to have this feed like, so-and-so completed their food diary. They don't do it anymore. Bastards. I hate change sometimes, you know? And then MyFitnessPal also wants to know your pronouns, which is dumb. No, there's no butter in it. take a trip alone for a couple of days. That's kind of what I did with the Nevada trip. Red Lady smoked some pork chops yesterday. It was goodly. Goodly. Um, I don't know. I mean, certainly you bring up a great point. I think what I need to do is actually just play the damn guitar. And so here's my challenge, right? I'm not making excuses, but here's the challenge. Like Sterling, when you're ready to play, you literally just walk up to your guitar, plug it in, you're good to go, right? There's no setup other than plugging the cord in. You're good to go. Because of how cluttered my guitar area is, where we're in the bedroom, I have to deal with the chords, deal with a good spot to sit down. And it hurts my back to sit in that position for a while. So if I use a strap, then I'm standing, which is fine. Now, to go into the garage and play the big amp, well, there's two problems there. Number one, I had to take the AC out after we got broke in because I boarded up that window. Second thing is, so it's really hot in there right now. The second thing is, my tubes on my big amp are pretty old. And I've been meaning to replace the tubes, but I need them biased, which I don't know how to do, which is going to have to be done of one of either two people in my area. And I have not progressed myself to do that yet. And again, that requires me, because I don't keep any of my guitars in the garage, because that's hard on them. And because half my pedals were stolen, you know, so it's, I would love, like, I've had two friends, that, mainly the people that have recorded my music, they literally had home studios. Like, they can just walk into their basement, there it is. Everything they need, everything to write. They're not setting anything up, right? It's all ready to go. And I envy those people. So, if I could get more, if I can get better climate control, or if one of the kids move out, I can take over in one of their bedrooms. And then that would turn into the studio. So, for clarity, declutter. That is a work in progress. That is a work in progress. Trust me. I know you know, it's funny. We went and visited some friends in Arkansas, and he also has his own little home studio for his guitar stuff, including a separate computer with all the gear and everything. And I'm like, we were like, wow, your house isn't very cluttered. Come to find out that they're paying like $100 a month for storage because they had a flood in their house and they had to put everything in storage while they repaired the floors, and they just only brought part of it back, and then they pay for storage on the rest of it. And that's where my wife draws the line. She doesn't want us paying for storage, which, you know, I don't blame her. So I do have to declutter, and that's a work in progress. I'm better about it, but and it doesn't help that I have this big, you know, huge shop in the backyard, and 90% of it is used up with the music gear. So, I think I missed a comment or two. Where's the comments? All right, there we go. No, there's no butter in my coffee, Shannon. Red Lady smoked some pork chops yesterday. It was, oh yeah, I already read that. 2 a.m. Open the garage door, amp volume to max. Your neighbors will love you. Letting go is a big challenge in life. That is. 6-month rule. I get it. I mean, when we cleaned out my mom's house, I mean, which you know something about that. It was daunting at first, but then it was therapeutic. And we're almost there. We're almost there. Progress, not perfection. There's a YouTube short where these two guys are working on something. They're like, oh, I just need this one thing. And the guy goes, I've got that. And they're all amazed because this guy's holding on to this thing for 20 years and he finally found the use for it. That's me. I'm that guy. I'm like, I'll pick it up and I'll go, but I might need this a year from now. Which is why I have 18,198 coffee cans full of bolts and nuts. So, like, I have this skull. I'm having trouble throwing it away. So, we recycle too, so not everything goes in the trash right off the bat. Cleaning out my mom's house was the toughest thing I'd done in years. It was, because it got to the point that we had to be selective because everything had to fit in the U-Haul or the Penske truck. But then the other part of it was I didn't want to lose a bunch of my family history. But then, so there's 3 piles. There was obviously the trash. There was the maybe pile. There's 4 piles. The trash pile, the maybe pile, the donation pile, and then the keep pile. And I think that we did a pretty good job. We did fill up the dumpster, but it was tough sometimes throwing stuff away that had been a part of my life for 20, 30, 40 years, And of course my mom had to say there's a few things that we kept, and then there was also stuff that we donated a lot to thrift stores and all that. So I do the same with truck parts. I've got shocks for a Volvo, but don't own a Volvo anymore. Letting go of my cord collection was like having an exorcism for me. But with my faith, my daughter helped. I did it. With faith, your daughter helped. Yeah. Sorting out my garage after I came off the OTR was the hardest thing I've done here. And I have done that. I've done that. I've sorted out the garage a couple of times. For example, I was keeping these BMX magazines that I've had since I was a kid. And you know what I did? I went to the local BMX store and gave it to them. They were like, oh my gosh, it was like some dinosaur bringing in artifacts. It was great. Because I knew they would appreciate it. I've got these H.R. Geiger books that my wife doesn't want anymore, but we're trying to sell them. And I really don't want to mess with eBay. And so I might look into Whatnot on being a seller. I am a purchaser, which, I did buy this ridiculously. It doesn't hurt. I mean, it doesn't help that I like collecting music and these stupid things. I've got this little minimalist carom is what they call it. Carambit. Which is, it's a small carambit is essentially what it is. So that doesn't help, but those don't take up a whole lot of room. The music, the DVDs, and the lack of shelving. The CDs really kind of have a dent, right? If I wanted to open up my record store right now, I could literally supply it without buying a thing. But I don't trust digital media sources. What if the grid goes down? Well, then I could still listen to music because I've got a ton of it. I've got baseball cards that I've looked from house to house for 30 years or so. Yeah, the magazines were one thing. Um, what else did I get rid of after a while? I got rid of a few metal shirts, and I'll probably be thinning out some of my music collections soon. And of course, I own a lot of guitars. So I'm not like you know Gene Simmons or anything like that, but I do have. Um, they take up a lot of room. The wife and I were looking at modular houses at the fair, and there's this one layout that we liked. But there's literally like these new modular homes and these new modern homes. There's literally no storage unless you have an extra bedroom, and that would help quite a bit. Everything would go in the extra bedroom that we didn't need, you know. In the early '90s, most CDs contain extra from the band if you put it in the computer. Yeah, I actually have a couple of CDs from, I think Destruction put them out, and they'll actually like hurt your computer. They say that on the disc itself. I've never been brave enough to try it, but Metallica was one of the first ones to do that. Like, so if you think back, the Napster days when they sued Napster and won, they were ahead of their time, recognizing that the digital MP3 was going to easily be pirated and affect music sales. So they were kind of on track, even though they were hated for that. Now, they also recognize that if your fans are going to buy the physical media, that they would want something, so you want to give them something that they can't get from an MP3 download. So they were the first ones, and it was on Saint Anger that they actually included a DVD. And it was shortly after that that a lot of bands were including DVDs or extra demo tracks or extra stuff that you couldn't find online. And they were ahead of their time on that. And now that's most physical media at this point. And of course you got the music collectors that want like this edition and this edition and this edition and this edition. Like I had a friend of mine, he's a big Slayer fan, and he owns like 25 versions of Slayer Rain and Blood. He's got the Japanese import, he's got this import, he's got this import, he's got the splatter vinyl, he's got this vinyl, he's got this vinyl, he's got the issue, the reissue, the OG. It's like, I'm not that guy. That helps. And it also helps that the music store that I mainly visited here in Springfield went out of business, because that was what expanded my music collection. So it's just a matter of organization as well. Tool, Enema Head Multimedia, yep. Do you have any vinyl? I have a lot of vinyl. So, well, not a lot. I mean, I have about I have 2.5 cratefuls of vinyl. And what it is, it's stuff that is very sentimental to me. Like classic albums, like, Metallica, Ride the Lightning, or I don't go out and buy the newest album by a band on vinyl. Although I did do that with the Judas Priest. My wife got me that. The new Judas Priest she got for me for Father's Day. Or maybe for anniversary. I can't remember. And there's a friend of mine that I was kind of trying to help him get his store off the ground by buying a bunch of his vinyl, and that helped. Um, but I'm extremely selective when I go out and buy vinyl. I don't buy the newest, greatest, latest, every single thing that comes out like I used to do with the CDs. And I don't care about original pressings. So I'm not going to sit there and spend $100 for an OG print of Metallica Kill 'Em All. I'm not that guy. So I've always said that that record collectors annoy me, because what happens is the records that I truly want, because of these snobs, they make this demand, and so therefore an album that should be $25 is now $75 to $100. But vinyl is like, you sit at home, you put it on, you sip your drink, and you just enjoy it. You know, have the vinyl in front. That's where I buy vinyl. So now Spotify Premium has helped me not buy as many CDs. So that's been good. So. I used to have every Smashing Pumpkins album in bootleg. Same with Sublime. Only impress stoner chicks and dudes. Have you ever been to Fountain Square in Indianapolis, Indiana? No, I have not. The only places I've been in Indianapolis is the Landstar Terminal, the Schneider Terminal, and the Flying J, and a couple of shippers and receivers. That's it. So here's what I envision, right? I envision a man cave where all my music is, all my gear is, and that alone would declutter the house quite a bit. But I don't have a spare room to do that. I've literally honestly thought about putting another container out here and making that my man cave, but it would be excessive, and it would be probably potentially bad for break-ins. So nice legs, thank you. Has music and art, good, worth looking around sometime. I don't know the next time I'll be in Indy, but I'll keep that in mind. I think the only time I'll be in Indy is if I'm passing through going to Matt's, or Jeff needs a truck rescued. I'm pretty sure he'd probably fly me out and pick up the truck and take it back to Michigan for him. So. But I'll remember that if I'm ever bored in Indianapolis. So yeah, I mean, Sterling, you're right. Caius is the second best stoner rock band. I agree with that. I think that the project I want to work on musically is going to be a combination of something between Caius, Paradise Lost, and Holy Name. It's going to be in those areas. That's kind of what I'm looking at. Or Crowbar too, Crowbar. So it was cool hanging out with Sterling all weekend in Nevada. We listened to Crowbar really loud with his best man, which I don't know if he listened to that kind of music or not, but he was that day. So, Josh, what's up? You made your first ever cup of instant coffee. Well, there's a right kind of instant coffee, and then there's a wrong kind of instant coffee. The little packets that you get, like the little Folgers packets, those aren't too bad. The crystallized glass jar coffee flakes, not so much. What's the difference between fuzz and distortion? I think distortion, there's a little bit more clarity, whereas fuzz, you can kind of get away with some sloppier picking. It's more defined. Distortion is more defined. Like, you know, I got the not so much kind of guess. The trick is to not make it strong. Sometimes they even have banjo. I would like to see a show at the Red Rock there in Colorado. I think that'd be pretty cool. Wardruna, which is like a Viking type band. They did the soundtrack for Vikings. They are. I want to see them. That would be an amazing show. And they're playing the Red Rock, I think next year, in 25, I believe, or maybe it's later this year. I might want to go to that. I am the best car DJ. That's how I am. You know, whenever my wife's driving, man, I'm on Spotify, hooking up the cues, you know. But yeah, that was cool. We were playing Crowbar and everybody knew it. It was awesome. But I don't know. I'll figure it out. Musically, I'll figure it out. I think it's just a matter of I got to do it, right? So. I hope you guys have been following the whole carnivore thing. I know my videos aren't the most interesting. It's just me kind of talking about something for about 10 minutes. But oh, I'm enjoying it. Play some Tool. I love Tool. We went and saw them in Little Rock, so we've got a friend of ours that lives down there. He put us up for the night. It was a great show. It was tough seeing the singer because the singer of Tool is kind of a weird dude. He wears costumes and he doesn't like to be seen. And on this particular show, he was behind the drummer. So you're sitting there like, you know, we had nosebleed seats and we're like, where's the singer? We can hear him. And then we see this shadowy guy all dressed and dressed in all leather with a mask on or something like that, to that effect. Is that the singer? But they did sound amazing, and they were on it. If you were trying to film them with the cell phone, they had a spotlight that was like, do not use your phone. And if you read interviews with the singer of Tool, he does not like the cell phones at a concert. He's like, take your picture, do your quick video, and then put the phone down. You know, so at their shows, they'll let you, like, okay, this is the one song that you can take your phones out and be annoying. So I would love to see where you go next in music. Well, Sterling, you're a part of that journey because of that pedal you got me, because I think that it's given me some sounds that I can experiment with. You bumped into him in Phoenix a long time ago? That's cool. I'm pretty sure that he's probably one of these guys that goes out of his way to make sure that he stays down to earth. He doesn't want to have the big ego. Which, you know, I can recognize. I mean, if you look at Kurt Cobain, that was probably what killed him, was he hated the spotlight. He hated the fame. And he turned into something he despised. And I think Tool's got a pretty good grasp on that. He's big into wine? Okay. But yeah, Tool was a big band for my wife and I back in the day, and I enjoy it. Like, even their new album, I really enjoy it. Everybody's like, oh, Tool, it's boring. It's like the same stuff. Well, you know, AC/DC plays the same stuff. Cannibal Corpse plays the same stuff. And no one's griping about them, so why can't Tool do it? You know, if the band changes too much, guess what? Everybody will gripe about that. You can't make people happy. And that's the problem with the internet right now. You got so much misinformation being posted on both sides of the political spectrum that you don't know what truth is anymore. And that's by design. It's designed to either get you all riled up or for you to shut it all out so you can't make an informed decision. Either way, you can't make an informed decision. And the theater of politics is, it's so heavy, it's made social media almost unbearable. Recreational outrage. um, it's a huge distraction, and I refuse to partake in it. You know, if you want my personal opinions politically, then you can talk to me personally, and I may or may not tell you. But I imagine they're probably not what you think. So, you've got, you know, I won't even get into it. It's just, it's stupid. And that's the design. It's designed to make you full of anxiety, full of anger, full of hate. You know, that's kind of where we're at. And it's only going to get worse, unfortunately. Do I make jerky for my diet? No. I would like to. Um, it's funny. We go to Bass Pro and we're looking at the meat grinders. We're looking at the dehydrators. We're looking at the smokers. And we just, again, don't have the room. I know that you can make it with the oven, but turning the oven on for several hours inside the house when it's 100 degrees outside doesn't seem like a great idea right now. But I would love to make my own jerky because I want to avoid a lot of the MSG and stuff that they put in regular jerky. Like, I have just a little bit of deer jerky left from my hunt a couple of years ago. And I'm waiting for DIY Semi to come through. I'm going to give him that bag. But I noticed that my cravings for sweet stuff and my appetite goes through the roof when I eat this deer jerky because of whatever they seasoned it with. If your grill can sustain 160 degrees, it can make jerky. Okay. Do I dispatch on the weekends? If needed, yeah, Marty. But most of the time, brokers aren't answering the phone on the weekends. And if they are, it's like Saturday morning. So there's been a couple of times I've had to look on a Saturday morning. But for the most part, click and goes is the only option if you empty out on Saturday or Sunday. And the drivers don't need my help with that. That's just stealing 4% from them if I do that. So, my phone is always on me, but I try to set it up where the drivers are working through the weekend or they're doing their 34 over the weekend. So, and of course, safety stuff. If someone calls me, I'm on call. I'm on call all the time, pretty much. So, Marty is bound and determined to make this about trucking. Which is fine if that's what you guys want to talk about. You got to have boundaries, though. I do create some boundaries. So, but I'm not rude about it. which is the trick. How to make boundaries without being rude. You can burn flavor wood chips to get smoke flavor on your grill. Yeah, you know what? What's interesting is Jeff and I were just talking about that yesterday because I was thinking about the brisket. Like, how much propane would brisket take if I let it cook for, like, let a couple of pounds cook for several hours, cook it slow? Like, he was talking about foil, and he had a process, and so, and I do have a little. It's not digital, but it's a temperature gauge on top of the shell. I have that. So, when Rig Runner initially started, I thought there was 3 dispatchers. No, it's never had 3 dispatchers. Rig Runner, not Ridge Runner, but Rig Runner. It was Jeff and one other guy named Steve. Well, Steve eventually left, and I took over. And Jeff doesn't do any dispatching. He might help a driver find a last minute load, but I'll tell you this. Don't ever call up Jeffrey Like and say that you can't find a load, because he will and does find you a load. He'll send you 15 options. You'll be overwhelmed. So just keep that in mind. But for the most part, like, there's a couple of times where Jeff would cover for me if I was on a trip or something, but for the most part, Jeff doesn't have time to dispatch, so it's just me. I cook completely by meat thermometer. Yeah, I noticed that. You got like the whole app, and you can check it on your phone and everything. That's pretty high tech. I've got a $180 grill. Now, steaks and hamburgers, I go by feel. Chicken's the only one I really check. Chicken and pork is the only thing I really check temperature for. But I guess if you're trying to do like a brisket or a tri-tip, you want to keep the temperature to a certain degree. So, I'm an amateur at best. Like, I know how to use a charbroiler, from my cooking days when I worked at a restaurant. It's funny, my daughter was like, "Hey Dad, can you teach me how to use a grill?" Yeah, sure. As soon as I figure it out, I'll let you know. So, it's kind of how it's been. And every piece of meat's different. Like, the frozen burger patties from Walmart cook differently than the frozen burger patties from Costco. And those cook differently than fresh pressed patties that I made myself. So, and I'm horrible about heat control. So, I was told that the best smoker to get is electric. So you're not worried about gas and you're not worried about charcoal. I went full scientist with my Traeger. It's actually embarrassing. Yeah, but man, you created some good stuff when I was there at your house, so it's worth it. Our electrical outlet out here does not work. And I would want to get that fixed before I would get an electric device to smoke out here. So I could see using an electric smoker. I had a friend of mine make fun of me because I didn't have a smoker. Like you're not a man unless you've got a smoker. I'm like, okay. More meat talk, come on. Smoking the meat. DIY, whenever you're in the truck, if you come through Springfield, I'll give you this last bag of deer jerky. You're gonna love it. It's actually pretty good. It's chewy, but you'll like it. I have a feeling that if I got a smoker, I would go, like, I'm going nuts with this grill just as it is. Like, yesterday I made bacon wrapped chicken, But I made that in the oven. I'm like, man, how could I have made this on the grill? How would have that turned out? But I wasn't willing to experiment. DIY is being nasty. Has Jeff said anything about Logic Neo? I thought they were pretty close friends. That was a myth. That was a rumor that the YouTube troll guys and the drama guys spread. Now they were both from Michigan, and Jeff did know the guy personally, but I don't think he ever met him. Like, in other words, he had his number, they talked on the phone, and they talked mainly RV camping stuff. They didn't even talk about the YouTube drama stuff. But he didn't even know he had passed until I told him. Even though, Jeff's not on Facebook a whole lot, and that's how I found out. So, and I knew enough of his real name that Jeff knew his real name, and so that's how I found out. Because I think Cab Over Terry posted a link from his page that he had passed on Saturday. I'm mentally struggling with eating more fat. Working through it, it's a fear I'm fighting to overcome. Everything you can do in the oven, you can do in the grill. That's what she said. Now Shannon's adding in her 2 cents. Yeah, I will experiment more because I think the bacon wrapped chicken would do better on the grill, to be honest with you. But you got to get the heat right so you don't have like burned outside and raw inside. 100 points to Shannon. 100 points to Shannon about my meat. So, phone is close to dying. Got to go for now. Gary, thanks for showing up, man. Thanks for showing up. You're sleeping better? I wish I could sleep better. I think there's some spiritual stuff going on in my house. Because I wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning and my mind is racing. And it's tough for me to get back to sleep. And when I do, I sleep in a little bit more, which is why I haven't been doing my workouts. So more fat has done that for me. You got like you got a like too. Well, thank you, Gary. I appreciate that. Everybody else hit the like as well. I've been waking up at 2 a.m. just so I just go to the gym. Yeah, our gym opens at 4. That'd be another good use for the man cave if I can ever get one of the bedrooms emptied out and back to bed and not sleep some more. I imagine part of that's cortisol. You probably deal with a lot of stress, DIY. Our house has felt better since everyone visited. Well, that's good. No, I don't have my hazmat endorsement. I let that about when it was coming due. It was when I was going to join like trucking, and Jeff told me at the time that he wasn't ever going to work on getting hazmat stuff or authority, so I let mine lapse. Part of me was like, better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it, but like if I had to like get back in the truck and work for Transland or Landstar or something like that required hazmat, I think I can just acquire it a lot easier than trying to maintain it every 3 years and not use it. So, scared off the bad juju. Well, good. It's good to have family and friends. More fat lowers cortisol. I learned that yesterday on the Dr. Berry video. That's interesting. That explains a lot. That explains why depression and anxiety goes down on a low-carb, high-fat diet. I revealed on Facebook that I was doing the carnivore thing finally this morning actually, and right away the comments started. And one of the comments was, "We're not meant to eat nothing but meat. We should have a well-balanced diet." And I would agree with that if we knew what a well-balanced diet was. I mean, you can't tell me that the Eskimos have a ton of fruits and vegetables, at their disposal, especially in the old days, right? But there are people that will make comments that are not healthy people. Like, it's like if I was as thin as if I was bare bones like this guy, and I was telling you how to bodybuild, it's the same thing, right? I'll take your input, politely nod, and move on. Explain cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone, and it disrupts your sleep, and it makes you gain weight. It contributes to anxiety. It contributes to depression. It contributes to weight gain. It contributes to horrible sleep. And the stresses of, as truck drivers, we've got this low level of cortisol going at all times because you're watching the other cars, you're watching the vehicles, trying to get the load done on time, you're doing 70 miles an hour, and you have this low level of cortisol going all the time because your stress is up there. It's like a low hum. If your cortisol levels are high all the time, it affects your insulin resistance. It affects everything. It's the root of a lot of stuff. And Shannon could probably send you some of the videos that she's talking about regarding cortisol. And other things like internet, like let's say you get on, like for example, here's when my weight regain started a little bit. So during the George Floyd thing, there were literally all these riots going on, and they were being posted live on Facebook. And I remember sitting on my couch watching these riots happen, and my stress level, the fight or flight stress level, was there. Even though I was safe in my living room, on my comfortable couch, drinking my awesome coffee, the mind still thought that we're in danger mode. And what those times did, the COVID, the wearing the mask, the riots, and every news outlet telling you everything that was horrible that's been happening, what that does is it raises your cortisol levels. And so when you're that stressed out, what happens is you don't eat right, you don't sleep right, you get hooked on dopamine, whether it be Netflix or that box of donuts you shouldn't have gotten yesterday. And next thing you know, you're dependent on anxiety drugs, you've got dealing with depression, you're medicating more either with alcohol or weed, or some prescribed stuff. And next thing you know, you're unhealthy, you're overweight, and you're on 3 different kinds of medications. And there's no way to lower your cortisol now because you're constantly in distress. I did a video about the stress and how the carnivore diet lowers that cortisol. And so therefore, when stressful things happen, like watching riots on live Facebook, or watching somebody get shot from a cop, 5 feet ahead of you, like what happened in Indianapolis, then you're able to handle those stresses more. Your cortisol doesn't get spiked as much. And so it's really important to keep that at a minimum. And it's a vicious cycle. The high cortisol makes you eat and sleep wrong, which creates your cortisol. So once it's up there, you're doing this vicious circle and you never get out of it. Next thing you know, you're taking care of things wrongly, and and you think that the world is more horrible than it actually is. I have a couple of hazmat CDLs for sale. I meet 2 vegetables is what I grew up on. I love it when skinny people on antidepressants tell me to eat a balanced diet. Right? You are looking more fit, says Sterling. Thank you. Fat and happy is better than skinny and depressed. I've just decided to make cortisol my bitch. There you go. Beautiful DIY. Be careful when you're asking Shannon about diet stuff. You'll get 7 to 15 video links and 3 phone calls at minimum. That's because she loves you, Sterling. I better shut off my phone now. It's kind of like that saying, you know, it's when you go to improve yourself. Oh, what was it I said earlier? Your change does not inspire people, other people, it confronts them. And that is why my carnivore series isn't doing well, because you got to address, you know, you're addressing issues. It's depressing to go to a grocery store now. And just like in business, people don't want to know that what they're doing is harming them. You know, we watched another episode of Restaurant Impossible. And the parallels to trucking business owners is about the same. It's kind of uncanny. There was a study done on stay-at-home mothers in the 80s linking daytime drama shows to obesity. Cortisol was first mentioned then. Yeah, I mean, look, why else? Think about soap operas. You're literally getting involved in someone else's fictional life. I mean, that's what reality shows are, or reality shows are now. Like, look how popular Ice Road Truckers was. And it was literally about 8 dudes that haul freight in Alaska and Canada. And sometimes they got to drive on frozen water. They had to create the rest of the drama. And it's like a soap opera. In next episode, we'll see if Hugh punches this guy in the face because he's an a-hole. You know, and it's not healthy for us. And think about it, how much of a distraction soap operas were. You know, I mean, you sit there and watch this whole hour show, and you're caught up in the story of like 5 different stories within the story. And next thing you know, things start getting done around the house. You know, I'm guilty of probably putting stuff off because I'd rather watch something on YouTube. We're all guilty of it. It's human nature. So if we're all guilty of something that's human nature, and you have to look at the root and the intention of it. The intention of the news is to raise your cortisol levels. And you know, and let me mention something here. You know, everybody's now like saying, "Oh, the news and press is nothing but a government blah blah blah," you know, propaganda thing. Well, here's the thing. I remember years ago when Dan Rather was still doing the evening news. And I remember, you know, they do the 30-second blip where they're like, okay, this is what's coming up. This is what we're dealing with, right? But then the first report was about scientists say that coffee is really good for you. Meanwhile, there's bombings going on somewhere else that I'd rather hear about. And the first thing that Dan Rather talks about is coffee. That seemed very strange to me. And then a couple of months later, the first report was how coffee is bad for you. Why is this on the evening news? Why are we even talking about this? Why are you trying to confuse the public by saying coffee's good? No, coffee's bad. And then they turn around and did it again 2 months later and said coffee is good. I remember thinking that this is very strange. The local news does that all the time. There's big important things going on that we should know about, and they're more talking about some local thing that has nothing to do with anything. Like, if I had a friend that was in a car accident, I wanted to hear about that. Or, not not something that had nothing to do with anything. So that's the problem with health information, is that you got people arguing about this side and you got people arguing about that side, and you have all these articles and videos and everything spinning to where you just shut it out and you're going to do what you want anyways. And that's by design. They want you stressed out. They want you confused. They don't want you thinking independently. They don't want you just sitting back, chilling, figuring out the root of everything going on. If I see a driver who sits at truck stops because they can't find a load, right? I call them up and I say, hey man, do you need help? There's no good loads. Okay, but what are you going to do about it? There's just no good loads. I'm going to sit here until I find a good load. Now, I could turn around and say, well, that driver doesn't know what they're doing. But it goes deeper than that. Why do they not want to just pick any load off that board? Why are they having trouble booking a load? And so what I do is I look at the depth. I'm like, okay, there is some anxiety here going on. There is some depression here going on. And maybe I can help them. Paralysis by analysis sometimes. And so if I can talk to this person, give them a different perspective, now they're thinking differently, and now they're not in their own way, and then we move forward. But finding the root. Okay, why do you sit at truck stops? It's not because they don't know what they're doing, because most people know that they're screwing up. Let's find the root of why you're screwing up and what causes that. So if you have depression, what causes that? If you have anxiety, what causes that? What's the depth of that? And a lot of it can be linked back to the foods that we've been eating since we've been kids. So when you find the roots of human nature, when you find the roots of health ailments, when you find the roots of people doing like the Karen stuff and people losing their mind in the middle of traffic, when you go to the root of that, there is a deeper seated thing that you're dealing with there. And I know people that are so ate up with what everything on the social media that it's affected their lives. You don't want to live in this bubble where you're not aware of anything, but at the same time, you don't want to be entrenched in every single fight and argument that's out there. That would be exhausting. That's why I don't argue politics with people. That's why I don't argue religion with people. You want to make fun of Christianity? Well, that's your right. Most Satanists, I saw this today, most Satanists are just edgy atheists that just want to make fun of Christians. And you know what? All I could do is plant seeds, and if you want to stomp on them, dig them out of the ground, throw them across the field, then do so. I'm not going to argue. I'll be bold, but I will not argue. And so I don't even get in these discussions with people. And the politics is through the roof. If you're wearing a certain hat, you're like Hitler. If you're doing this, you look like this. If you're doing this, you look like that. If you follow this person, if you vote for this person, you're going to kill the country. If you follow this person, you're going to kill the country. And it's the same arguments. Go look at presidential debates, every single one for the last 20 years. And you're going to see the same arguments. Guns, abortion, nuclear proliferation, self-defense, taxes. And they're both guilty. Both sides are guilty of just telling you what you want to hear and never making any change unless it benefits them. There's a time to be bold and there's a time to be confrontational. And most people don't know how to differentiate the two. So it's just good to be bold. It's good to be the quietest person in the room. It's good to keep your emotions in check so you don't get caught up with emotional mob mentality. Your cortisol will go down, you'll eat better, you'll feel better, and you'll be happier. You'll read books instead of checking out Netflix. You'll go out and do things instead of staying inside and and watching, you know, bad TV, bad reality TV. And it's a stoic philosophy, it's a stoic way of looking at things, but I'll tell you, it doesn't do you any good to make a ton of money and not be able to enjoy life because you're constantly entrenched in all these negatives. You know, there are people that have jobs like counselors or, you know, child counselors especially, that, or family courts. Oh man, I sat in on a family court one time. It was heart wrenching. I don't know how I could, I don't know how I would do it to be exposed to that every day. So you have to learn to protect yourself. You have to learn to have boundaries. You have to learn to not let the negative influences win. So it's not, see here's the thing. Everybody's up in roar about the Olympics. And rightfully so, but here's the thing. They want you riled up about the Olympics. One side or the other. You got one side saying this was a mockery of Christianity and this was horrible, this was sinful, blah blah blah, okay? But then you have the other side saying, look at the stupid Christians, look how stupid they are. And they're making a big deal so they can mock Christians as well. Both parties are being manipulated. I recognize for what it is and make a mental note, and then I move on. I'm not trying to prove anybody right or wrong. I'm not trying to send articles to anybody, whether it was really about a Greek painting or an Italian painting. All I know is that it was an event that had nothing to do with the Olympics, that was meant to rile the public up, and it worked. Right? And it worked. And that is where the true evil lies, is because now our cortisol's up, now we're full of hatred and anger, and that hatred and anger can be manipulated because you got people hating the people, and you got the people that are hating the people that are hating the people. It's an endless cycle. And at the end of the day, I go outside, the birds are chirping, the cicadas are making a bunch of noise, my grass is still overgrown, and that's what I need to focus on. Because, you know, are there wrong things going on at the Olympics, like the boxing stuff? Absolutely. But you know what? I have no control over it. The right people will figure it out. They'll either do something about it or they won't. Either way, I don't support it. I'm not watching the Olympics. I have no interest in the Olympics. There's a couple of things I like, you know, like the BMX stuff, and I guess they have a shooting with air gun, you know, air guns. That was kind of cool. That there's a bunch of memes out for. But the idea is to get you riled up. You know, in order to get to the queen bee, in order to get to the honey, you got to stir up the bees. You got to put the smoke in the beehive, and you got to get them riled up. And you put on the beekeeper, you know, outfit, and you get the honeycomb that you want. You get the sweet stuff that you want. The bees have been manipulated to go after you, and then you calm things down. You put the queen back where it needs to be, or whatever, and you put the combs back where they need to be, and then eventually the bees settle down until the next time you need to harvest. And that's essentially what's going on with the internet. The social media is being used to rile you up, piss you off, and make you not think clearly. You want to learn about health, where you're going to have 1,000 different views with 1,000 different conflicting information. So I tell you, hey, if you want to try carnivore, see how it feels to you. And if it feels good, cool. If not, then it's not right for you. Simple as that. You know, I spent hours talking about drivers that aren't doing the right things when it comes to their business. And I'm like, look, we got to find the root of this, and that's it. It's as simple as that. If they can't figure it out, then they're done. It's as simple as that. And it looks blunt, it looks rude, it looks sometimes unfeeling. But if we're caught up in the minutia, as DIY once told me, then you don't see the bigger picture, and therefore you're only. I mean, think about when you're driving. What do they tell you? The Smith system. You got to look beyond. You got to look ahead. You got to look at what's going on. You got to be aware of all your surroundings, right? What if you drove your truck and you're only and you got a Mac, so you're only staring at the bulldog on your hood, right? You'd be at risk for an accident, right? You're sitting there with the Mac. Look at that dog, man. We're going down the highway really fast. Look at that dog, and you're focused on your hood, the front of your hood. Meanwhile, if a car wrecks or if something's going on or if traffic stopped on the interstate because of a construction zone, you're going to rear end and kill somebody. Well, it's the same thing. If you're focused on one little thing that really doesn't matter because that hood ornament doesn't matter, then you're going to miss the whole big picture. Boom, now you're caught up in all this crap. There you go. Most of Ice Road Truckers was staged. Yes, I know. I know one person that actually did the ice roads. They weren't in the show, but they were invited to the show, and they said hell no. And he was friends with one of the guys that was on the show. They've ruined a couple of truckers' careers because of how they edited the film to make them look bad. Sterling grew up with global cooling. The Weather Channel does more stress news than weather. Right, which is why I prefer Weather Nation. Sometimes bouncing your thoughts off someone else can get you a pit of a rut because of that confrontation thing. The road rage incident on ASP yesterday was a lesson on spiritual fitness. Are you talking about the one in? Yeah, you're talking about the one in Indy. Yeah, I saw that video before ASP. I knew ASP was going to do something about it, and it's true, man. It's like that road rage didn't have to happen, and I've seen so many road rage videos go horribly wrong. And but here's the thing. So if you look at the comments to that video, there's not a whole lot of loving comments in that video, right? No one has empathy for the guy that was the aggressor. They just assume that that's just how he was. Well, what's the root of his aggression? What was he dealing with in his life that made him be like that? It could have been a childhood thing. It could, either way, it doesn't make it right. It's a sad event. The guy that in the pickup truck, he's got to live with this choice that he made for the rest of his life. On one side, he's going to be grateful that he's still alive because he had a gun pulled on him. But on the same token, now he's got to take the loss of a soul on his conscience. Not to mention all the financial liability if he doesn't have like USCCA or something like that. They even though they let him go and they're calling it self-defense, it still takes lawyers. It still takes time. He'll probably have to move. Because his name will be plastered everywhere. It's a tough go, man. The changes benefit the politicians and the lobbyists, right? I'm reading Fast Like a Girl by Dr. Mindy. Man, what an incredible education it is. So much valuable health and body info. Yeah, my wife's reading the same book, and she loves it. It's true evil. The true evil lies within the hearts of the tolerant. Right, and that's what's happened to Christianity. Christians have become too tolerant. If you notice, the Muslims aren't very tolerant. They don't want any Western culture infecting the minds of their religion. And there's a difference between tolerance and quiet. You can be quiet and still accomplish things and still have a fight forward. Tolerance is different. Tolerance is afraid to speak up, or you're too welcoming, which is not how it needs to be. Shannon agrees. Is it a gold dog or silver? Whatever you want. It could be that duck from the rubber duck, man. It could be that thing. I've got one of those, actually. I never put it on my truck. Thank God. I've got it somewhere. A friend of mine got it to me as a celebration of me buying my first truck. And I almost put it on the truck, but I'm glad I didn't. As disposable as these trucks are, it was a good idea not to put it on the truck. I don't even know where that is. It's probably in a box somewhere. But I've got the rubber duck thing, because that's my jam. Rubber, convoy is my jam. I've even got the tattoo. See? Right there. That's the truck with the duck. So there you go. Your life becomes what it focuses on. If you're focused on health and shut out all the digital noise, you're going to improve your health. I never had naked lady mud flaps. If you focus on how corrupt everything is, then that is meant to destroy your hope. And once you destroy hope, man, you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want when you destroy hope. You get people emotional with no hope. Manipulation, etiquette 101. So. My coffee is officially done. So I'm going to go to a music store or two, and I'm going to go look for some probiotics. I'll talk about that maybe in one of my 40 videos I'm doing. I will say this, on the carnivore 40-day journey, after 40 days, I will not be doing a video every day. That's part of the challenge, is doing, well, I've already failed it. I'm at 2 less videos than the days I've been on. So I've missed 2 days so far. But you know what? Life gets in the way. Sometimes I'm just hanging out with my wife, watching TV, and I don't feel like doing a video. And sometimes I'm fired up and I can make 4 videos. My wife, Laura, an appreciation gift today, just because. That would be like a coffee or something like that, because she doesn't want any more clutter. Like, we didn't give each other stuff for anniversary this year. Yeah, so. Strength for today. Hope for tomorrow. Thanks for watching. It's going to go private for a minute, but I'll probably make this one public. So, and maybe we'll get on the guitar later, and I'll do that on the bigger channel. So with that being said, strength for today, over tomorrow. Peace.